All right, in this explainer, we're going to break down a really powerful text. It presents a critical analysis of historical patriarchy and how it defined a woman's place in society. It's a challenging perspective for sure, so let's dive in and unpack it together. Right off the bat, the source material doesn't hold back at all. It centers its entire argument on this one incredibly stark principle: a woman does not deserve independence. This idea is the absolute bedrock of everything else we're about to explore. Okay, so how does the text build its case from that starting point? Well, it begins with a foundational claim that a woman's place in the social order was seen as inherently beneath a man's. We're not talking about a partnership here, but a clear hierarchy. And that subordinate status is broken down into three distinct functions. According to the text, a woman's value was really defined by her utility. First, her primary purpose was procreation. Second, she was seen as a means to satisfy male desire. And third, her status was essentially that of property, a possession, much like any other object of need. You know, the text uses a specific and very powerful word for this concept: bogia. Now, this doesn't just mean object. It specifically translates to an object of enjoyment or consumption. That single word really frames a woman's entire existence as being for the gratification of her male owner, which fundamentally shapes her role in the family and the wider society. So if that's the core belief, you have to ask, how was it actually enforced? I mean, an idea is one thing, but making it a reality is another. The text argues that this entire system was held up by three distinct pillars of control that basically structured a woman's whole life. And this creates a lifelong cycle of dependency. It's really something when you lay it out like this. According to the source, a woman was never independent. As a girl, she was under her father's control. When she married, that authority was transferred to her husband, and if she became a widow, control then passed to her son. At no point was independence even on the table. Now, this is a really crucial point the text makes. This wasn't just some informal family tradition, you know? The entire structure was formalized. It was cemented by the rules of society itself. Both social and religious laws were apparently designed specifically to write this hierarchy into stone, giving it the full backing of moral and legal authority. But here's where it gets even more complex, right? Because laws and external pressures are only part of the story. How did a system like this sustain itself from the inside? The source suggests it wasn't just about force. It was also about a powerful psychology of acceptance, what it calls the allure of servitude. The allure of servitude. What does that even mean? Well, the text lays out this incredible contrast. On one hand, you have the reality, which it calls gulami, basically servitude or slavery. But that reality was carefully hidden, right? It was dressed up, decorated, and sold as something noble, something honorable, something to aspire to. A woman's submission wasn't presented as being subjugated, but as her greatest virtue. There's a line from the source that just captures this perfectly. It says, "The chains of slavery were made so alluring that over generations, women themselves came to believe their greatness was found within that submission." The system worked so well because it convinced people that their chains were actually beautiful ornaments. So to tie all of these ideas together, the subordination, the control, and the psychology, the source uses one really powerful case study from mythology to make it all concrete. And that's the Agni Pariksha, Sita's trial by fire. Now, the source analyzes this not as some divine event, but as a deeply social one. Why did it happen? To preserve social honor. Who demanded it? The male authority, her husband. The text presents this as the ultimate illustration of its core premise: a woman being forced to prove her purity by literally walking on lines drawn for her by a man. So after all of that, what's the big takeaway here? According to this analysis, it's this pretty profound idea. The most effective systems of control don't just rely on force. They reframe subjugation as a form of greatness. They make a cage look like a throne and convince the person inside that their confinement is actually a coronation. And that really leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? The text we've just broken down talks all about these historical lines drawn to maintain social honor. And it makes you wonder, what lines, the ones we can see and the ones we can't, still define and confine people in our own societies today?